Thank you so much, Isabel. Now Oshrat will share with us.
Good afternoon. I feel I'm a little obscure here being a lawyer and not a welfare worker or a social worker, but I'll try to represent my angle. Media is not traditionally playing a role in the legal system, especially in trials concerning children and child abuse. Judges, prosecutors, even defense attorneys prefer that such cases will stay as far as possible from the eye of the public. Let justice be done, they will say, and let us all keep the privacy and the anonymity of the children. Let the system take care of the children with the tools it was given by law. There is no need for extra treatment by the public or the public eye. There is much sense in this attitude, and the law in Israel supports it. According to the Israel Courts Act, 1984, a case involving children as victims or offenders is held behind closed doors, which means that no information concerning cases can be publicized without permission of the court. Cases concerning any sexual abuse, including child sexual abuse, are also heard behind closed doors, and media is prohibited from publicizing any information that may disclose the identity of the victims without the permission of the court. The rationale is very clear. In such cases, the privacy of the victim should be kept as much as the system can offer. The information and the evidence concerning these cases must stay as far as possible from the public, and the treatment must be professional. The victims should give their testimonies freely, without the fear of their intimate life and experience will find its way to the public, smeared on every newspaper stand. Media coverage could easily cause secondary trauma, I would call it even thirdly trauma. I will add to the trauma caused by the trauma itself, and afterwards the legal procedure. Those cases also where the prosecution will not raise the burden of evidence at the end, the damage to the defendant or the suspect and his family caused by the media coverage and exposure is also irreversible. On the other hand, media claims the right of the public to get information concerning criminal procedures dealing with child abuse, to make sure that the state and the legal system are dealing with these cases, to allow criticism and to inform the public with information such crimes and criminals. That is a serious claim. The legal system will say it is very, very difficult to control media, especially concerning severe child abuse and severe sexual abuse. The media coverage, and allow me to mention it, and in these cases has a tendency to draw bold picture, to publicize extreme cases with ultra-severe abuse or with yellow details, hinting also the area, the group, the surroundings of the victim, describing intimate details. This sells, that's it. Coverage, in many cases, is also very judgmental. In sex abuse of teenager, the coverage deals a lot with the victim, his or mostly her habits, moral behavior, responsibility to the abuse. Take, for example, and we see it every 2 months in the media, coverage of a group sexual assault or abuse of a girl by her friends, teenagers, her age. The media will deal with her way of life, with interviews of the sex offenders' families, family members and friends, describing the surprise with such perfect normative children being involved in such case, not with the victim. If a rabbi or a respectable person is involved in child abuse, the coverage will often concentrate on the claim of plot, of the problematic of the victims and the powers and the virtues of this respectable person. Such coverage, in our eyes, weakens the hands of victims and discourages complaints to the police. The disclosure of abuse is hard and painful, as you all know. Giving a statement to the police is hard and demanding. Testimony is a tremendous effort and a trauma. Adding to these prizes another one, the media coverage and exposure is too much. In new media, we must also take account, as Karmit mentioned, the appeal of coverage, the talkbacks, that appear after coverage, even less responsible and in many cases offensive. A victim or a parent of victim values these prices and might decide not to submit a complaint or not to report to the police because of the exposure. Another negative aspect of media coverage of child abuse comes from a very different angle. Coverage could cause what we call contamination of evidence, where victim or other witnesses adopt pieces of information that appeared in media rather than their own experience. Their credibility of what they will say about the thing that happened is damaged, and in extreme cases we also see what is known as moral panic. False or wrong complaints where parents or children exposed to coverage of abuse may tend to be suspicious, oversensitive, and plead false or wrong charges based upon rumors and what they absorbed through media. This phenomenon is a great challenge to the legal system. So, are there any advantages of media coverage of child abuse? Should it be in the media? You mentioned in your little words that in 1988, a 5-year-old girl from Tiberia died in hospital after suffering injuries. The police investigation found that she had been a victim of a long-time physical abuse by her uncle. I was noticed by her teachers, parents, a nurse, and others, but none of them reported to the police. This case was intensely covered by media and created public pressure on Knesset members to take an act. Following that, the Knesset amended the criminal law, adding mandatory report to the police or welfare agencies. In such cases, the media can and does play a major role in creating public opinion and pressure on policymakers. It is not politically correct to say that, but yellow, bold coverage of one severe child abuse can promote changes that 100 DAs like me or 100 social workers will never achieve. Another example, just a year ago, an amendment of the criminal law was made concerning sexual harassment in videos, especially on the web, following a few cases that were covered of sexual abuse through the web and massive media coverage of those cases. In many ways, the constant coverage of child abuse cases and penalties given by the courts and the media serves as the guardian dog of the legal system, manages to raise the level of penalty on these cases. Media criticizing the welfare agencies and legal system may not be nice, but could serve the greater goal of child protection in some ways. Coverage of child abuse by media not only draws the line of what is forbidden and what is not acceptable, and this is tremendously important in a multicultural society. I will give just an example of physical punishment, which is sometimes acceptable in some social groups. This is a line that is drawn and was covered by media. It raises the awareness of the public, parents, children, educational staff members to child abuse, putting child abuse on the table as a conversation topic, as an issue. This illuminates child abuse and reveals it. And even more. I'm taking it from a case I had. A child watches television with his family. On the television, there's a report of a child abuse case in court. The child watches not only the report, but also his parents' reactions to the report. He feels now more comfortable to disclose that he is a victim of abuse. The coverage not only gave him the opportunity, but also the knowledge he has support, and that he is not alone. This is, of course, a very optimistic scenario, but it happens. Media coverage is by no means a trigger to disclosure, and we see it in a lot of cases, since the subject is raised at homes and at schools. Media coverage also can support victims and families, showing that the legal system deals with abusers, arrests, punishes, and the victims are not alone, and state agencies and welfare agencies care about them. Another point, based on assumption and not research, media coverage of child abuse helps us create deterrence, informing the public, including potential abusers, that penalties are given by the legal system. What are the prices an abuser is going to get for his abuse? I'm just going to give a little example. A few years ago, there was sex abuse on the web, And what the TV did was actually took it out, photoed persons being caught online. And people who are very respectable, go to the offices, were revealed on the national media. And this is something that has a lot of power in achieving deterrence. Last, there's always a dual relationship between police and the media. The police usually provides scoops, information, and a bit of evidence material, and is granted by publicity. But in some cases of child abuse, the publicization could really help collecting and reaching evidence. Take a coverage, even in local media, of investigation concerning sexual abuse by a school bus driver or a famous rabbi. And the next day, a few more parents will get to the police station with their children, submitting complaints and giving testimonies. I've begun stating the media is a stepchild to the legal system, and ended hugging this stepchild. Media coverage of child abuse could both be constructive and destructive. I believe publicity serves the matter, but at the same time could cause great damages. Restraint and responsibility are key factors in positive and productive media coverage.